The red warning lights painted everything in blood as Maya Chen felt the vibrations of dying machinery through the metal floor beneath her feet, while others heard the screaming alarms. She experienced the station's distress as a symphony of tremors that spoke directly to her bones. The asteroid mining facility Epsilon 7 was dying, and everyone knew it. Maya pressed her palm against the corridor wall, feeling the irregular pulse of the life support systems. The rhythm was wrong, stuttering like a heart with damaged valves. Through the observation windows, the vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly, offering no hope of rescue. They were too far from Earth, too deep in the asteroid belt for any ship to reach them in time. Commander Roberts stormed past her without acknowledgement, his heavy boots creating sharp impacts that traveled up through the station's framework. Maya had grown accustomed to being invisible to the senior staff. At 19, she was the youngest person ever assigned to a deep space mining operation, and her deafness made her an outsider among the crew of 43. Most treated her like a charity case, someone the Earth Council had forced them to accept. To meet diversity quotas, Dr. Harrison, the chief engineer, emerged from the main systems room with sweat beading on his forehead, despite the station's increasingly cold atmosphere. His lips moved rapidly as he spoke to Commander Roberts, but Maya didn't need to read their words to understand the conversation. The vibrations told the story clearly enough. Critical system failures throughout the station, power grid destabilizing, oxygen recyclers operating at 30% capacity, water purification offline. They had perhaps 6 days before the station became uninhabitable. Maya made her way to Engineering Bay 3, her assigned workspace in the station's least critical section. While the senior engineers worked on the primary systems, she had been relegated to maintaining mining equipment and performing routine diagnostics on harvester bots. It was meaningful work, but far from the cutting-edge research she had dreamed of contributing to humanity's expansion into space. The bay was empty when she arrived, which suited her perfectly. Maya preferred solitude when working, free from the constant need to prove herself worthy of inclusion. She activated her workstation and began reviewing the day's reports from the mining operations. Most of the asteroid had been thoroughly excavated, with crews extracting the valuable rare earth elements that made deep space mining profitable. Only Section 7 Delta remained unexplored, a dense core region that the geological surveys had marked as unlikely to contain anything useful. As Maya studied the seismic data from the latest excavation, something caught her attention. The vibration patterns from Section 7 Delta were different from the rest of the asteroid. While most areas showed the expected density variations of natural rock formation, 7 Delta displayed an almost crystalline regularity. The patterns reminded her of something artificial, something designed rather than formed by cosmic chance. She pulled up the detailed scans and enhanced the resolution. There, buried deep within the asteroid's core, was something that didn't belong. The object was roughly cylindrical, approximately 200 meters long and 60 meters wide. Its surface reflected the mining scanners in ways that natural rock never could. Maya's pulse quickened as she realized what she might be looking at. The discovery of alien artifacts was the holy grail of deep space exploration. Despite decades of searching, humanity had found no definitive proof of intelligent extraterrestrial life. If Maya was right about what lay hidden in Section 7 Delta, it would change everything. More importantly for their current situation, alien technology might hold the key to repairing their failing systems. Maya gathered her data and made her way to the command center. The massive chamber buzzed with desperate activity as crew members worked frantically to extend their survival timeline. Commander Roberts stood at the central console, his face grim as he reviewed damage reports. Dr. Harrison hunched over a diagnostic panel, muttering what Maya assumed were increasingly creative profanities. She approached Commander Roberts and placed her tablet on the console, displaying her findings. The commander glanced at the screen dismissively before looking back at more pressing concerns. Maya tapped his shoulder to get his attention and pointed at the unusual readings from Section 7 Delta. "What is it, Chen?" Commander Roberts asked, his words visible on Maya's translation device. The small screen strapped to her wrist converted speech to text in real time, allowing her to follow conversations despite her hearing loss. Maya typed her response on the tablet. "Possible artificial structure in asteroid core. Recommend immediate investigation." Dr. Harrison looked up from his work and read Maya's message over the commander's shoulder. His expression shifted from tired frustration to outright dismissal. "We don't have time for wild theories, Chen. We're fighting for our lives here." The readings show clear geometric patterns. Maya typed quickly. "This could be alien technology." Commander Roberts rubbed his temples, the weight of command evident in every line of his face. "Even if you're right, which is highly unlikely, we can't spare the resources for archaeological expeditions. We need solutions to our immediate problems, not fantasy projects." Maya felt the familiar frustration of being dismissed without proper consideration. She had spent 4 years at the Mars Engineering Academy, graduating at the top of her class in xenotechnology theory. Her research into non-human design principles had earned recognition from some of the most respected scientists in the solar system. Yet here, faced with a potentially world-changing discovery, she was being brushed aside because of her age and disability. Dr. Harrison returned to his diagnostic panel, effectively ending the conversation. Commander Roberts gave Maya what he probably thought was a sympathetic look before turning to address other crew members. Maya gathered her tablet and left the command center, her mind racing with possibilities. If the senior staff wouldn't listen to reason, she would have to prove her theory independently. Maya made her way to the mining equipment bay, where the heavy excavation suits were stored. These industrial exoskeletons allowed workers to operate in the harsh conditions of deep space mining, equipped with cutting tools and protective systems. Designed for asteroid excavation, Lieutenant Torres found her there, running pre-flight checks on one of the suits. Alina Torres was one of the few crew members who treated Maya as an equal, perhaps because she understood what it meant to face discrimination. As one of only 6 women on the station, Torres had fought her own battles for recognition and respect. "Planning a solo expedition?" Torres asked, her words appearing on Maya's device. Maya nodded and explained her theory about the object in Section 7 Delta. Torres listened carefully, studying the seismic data with the analytical mind of a career officer. Unlike the senior staff, she didn't dismiss Maya's conclusions out of hand. "The patterns do look artificial," Torres admitted, "but the commander is right about resource allocation. We can't afford to waste power on speculative missions." "I'll use minimal power," Maya typed. "Personal life support only. If I find nothing, I'll return immediately. If I find something useful, ... Double quotes. Torres considered this for a long moment. The station's situation was desperate enough that any potential solution deserved consideration, no matter how unlikely. "I can't officially authorize this, but I can look the other way for a few hours. Just be careful, Maya. If something happens to you out there, we might not be able to mount a rescue. Maya sealed her helmet and activated the suit systems. The excavation exoskeleton was designed for extended operations in zero gravity, equipped with magnetic anchors and precision cutting tools. More importantly, it had independent life support that wouldn't draw from the station's failing reserves. The asteroid's core was a labyrinth of mining tunnels and excavated chambers. Maya followed the seismic readings deeper into the rock, her suit's lights cutting through absolute darkness. The vibrations here were different, muffled by the dense material surrounding her. She relied on her suit's navigation system and her own spatial awareness to guide her toward the anomalous readings. After nearly 2 hours of careful navigation, Maya reached Section 7 Delta. Her lights illuminated a chamber that had been carved by mining equipment but never fully explored. At the far end, partially exposed by excavation, was something that made her heart race with excitement and wonder. The object was clearly artificial, its surface composed of a material that seemed to shift between metallic and crystalline properties. Geometric patterns covered its visible sections, intricate designs that suggested a level of sophistication far beyond current human technology. More importantly, Maya's suit was detecting energy signatures from within the structure. Whatever this was, it wasn't entirely dormant. Maya approached carefully, her cutting tools ready to clear away more of the surrounding rock. As she worked, she noticed that the object's surface patterns seemed to respond to her presence. Areas near her tools glowed faintly, as if reacting to the electromagnetic fields generated by her suit's systems. The breakthrough came when Maya placed her gloved hand directly on the object's surface. The material was warm, warmer than it should have been after eons buried in cold rock. More significantly, she felt vibrations through her suit's haptic feedback system. The object was generating some kind of rhythmic pulse, almost like a heartbeat. Maya realized she was touching something alive, or at least something that retained some form of consciousness. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just alien technology. It was an alien entity that had somehow survived whatever catastrophe had buried it in this asteroid. She activated her suit's recording systems and began documenting everything. The patterns on the surface were changing, becoming more complex as they responded to her presence. It was as if the entity was trying to communicate, using visual displays instead of sound or radio signals. Maya's excitement was interrupted by a vibration alert from her suit. A message from the station appeared on her display. Critical system failure. All personnel return immediately. The dying station couldn't wait for her amazing discovery. Maya faced an impossible choice. She could return now and try to convince the senior staff to investigate her findings, likely facing the same dismissal she had experienced before. Or she could remain and try to establish meaningful contact with the alien entity, possibly learning something that could save everyone aboard Epsilon-7. Maya made her decision. She activated her suit's emergency beacon so Torres could track her location, then began working to expose more of the alien structure. If this entity had survived for who knows how many years buried in rock, it might possess technology advanced enough to solve their crisis. She just had to find a way to communicate with it. The surface patterns grew more intense as Maya cleared away debris, and she began to notice correlations between her movements and the entity's responses. When she worked steadily, the patterns pulsed at regular intervals. When she paused, they dimmed. When she touched specific sections, they flared brightly. It was a conversation, Maya realized. The entity was responding to her actions, trying to establish some form of communication protocol. And for the first time since arriving at Epsilon 7, Maya felt like her unique perspective might be exactly what the situation required. While others tried to fix failing systems with conventional engineering, she was about to attempt something unprecedented in human history: meaningful communication with an alien intelligence. The fate of everyone on the station might depend on her success. Maya's hands moved across the alien surface with growing confidence, each touch generating new patterns of light that pulsed through the crystalline material. What had started as random flashes was becoming something more structured, almost like a visual language. The entity was learning to communicate with her, adapting its responses to match her actions. The breakthrough came when Maya began tracing geometric shapes on the surface. When she drew a triangle, the entity responded with 3 pulsing lights. A square generated 4 pulses. A circle created a continuous wave of illumination that traveled around the object's visible circumference. Mathematics, it seemed, was indeed the universal language. Maya's excitement was tempered by the reality of her situation. Her suit's power levels were dropping, and the station's crisis was escalating with each passing minute. She needed to establish more complex communication quickly if she hoped to find a solution to their predicament. She began drawing more sophisticated patterns, incorporating principles from her xenotechnology studies. The entity's responses became increasingly elaborate, creating 3-dimensional holographic displays that floated above its surface. Maya watched in wonder as it projected what appeared to be star charts, showing stellar positions and movement patterns that suggested vast age and astronomical knowledge. Then the entity did something that took Maya's breath away. It projected an image of her own solar system, complete with accurate planetary positions and orbital mechanics. The display zoomed in on Earth, then Mars, then traced a path through the asteroid belt to their current location. Somehow, this ancient being understood exactly where they were and how they had arrived. Maya pointed to the projected image of Epsilon 7 and then gestured to herself. The entity's response was immediate and profound. The holographic display shifted to show the interior of the mining station, revealing the failing systems with startling accuracy. Critical components were highlighted in red, showing power grid failures, life support degradation, and structural weaknesses that exactly matched the problems plaguing the crew. The alien intelligence wasn't just aware of their presence, it understood their technology and their desperate situation. Maya felt a surge of hope as she realized that this entity might indeed possess the knowledge needed to save them. Maya began working frantically to clear more debris from the object's surface, exposing additional sections that glowed with increasing intensity. As more of the structure became visible, she could see that it was far more complex than initially apparent. What she had thought was a simple cylindrical shape was actually an intricate network of interconnected chambers and conduits, all pulsing with the same rhythmic energy that had first caught her attention. Her suit's communication system crackled to life with an emergency message from Lieutenant Torres. Maya, the situation here is critical. We've lost main power and are running on backup systems. Commander Roberts is considering evacuation protocols. How much longer do you need? Maya looked at the expanding display of alien technology surrounding her. She was on the verge of the most significant discovery in human history, but her fellow crew members were running out of time. She typed a quick response, found active alien intelligence, attempting to establish technical communication. Need 30 more minutes. Torres's reply was immediate. You have 20 minutes maximum. After that, I'm coming to get you, personally. Maya turned back to the alien entity with renewed urgency. She began drawing technical diagrams on its surface, starting with simple electrical circuits and gradually progressing to more complex systems. The entity's responses suggested not only understanding, but active collaboration. It began projecting corrected versions of her diagrams, showing improvements and modifications that human engineering had never considered. When Maya drew a representation of a power distribution grid, the entity projected an enhanced version that included crystalline resonance chambers capable of amplifying and stabilizing energy flow. When she sketched life support systems, it showed biological integration methods that could increase efficiency by orders of magnitude. Most remarkably, when she drew the failing components from Epsilon 7, the entity provided detailed repair protocols that could be implemented using materials available on the station. The alien intelligence wasn't just offering theoretical solutions. It was providing practical blueprints for survival. Maya's hands trembled with excitement as she realized the implications. This entity had likely survived for millennia by developing technologies that could adapt to any environment or crisis. Its knowledge could not only save the mining station, but revolutionize human civilization's approach to space exploration and colonization. The entity seemed to sense her emotional state, because its next projection was something entirely unexpected. Instead of technical diagrams, it showed what appeared to be a memory or historical record. Maya watched as the holographic display revealed the story of a civilization not unlike humanity, one that had faced similar challenges in its expansion. Beyond its home world, the images showed beings with 4 arms and elongated heads, their bodies adapted for low-gravity environments. Maya watched their history unfold, the development of interstellar travel, the establishment of colonies on distant worlds, the gradual discovery that their expansion was unsustainable without new approaches to resource management and environmental adaptation. The entity's people had faced a choice similar to the one confronting humanity. They could continue their aggressive expansion, depleting resources and leaving failing colonies in their wake, or they could develop new technologies that worked in harmony with their environment, rather than simply exploiting it. They had chosen harmony, developing the crystalline resonance systems and biological integration methods that the entity had been showing Maya. But the transition hadn't been easy. The historical display showed conflicts between those who embraced the new approaches and those who preferred traditional methods. Wars had been fought over the direction of their civilization, ultimately resulting in the near extinction Maya was witnessing. The entity itself was apparently one of the last survivors, its consciousness preserved within the crystalline matrix that formed its current existence. Maya felt a profound connection to this ancient being. Like her, it had been different from its peers, able to perceive solutions that others couldn't see. Like humanity, its civilization had stood at a crossroads between sustainable progress and destructive expansion. The entity was offering not just technical knowledge, but wisdom earned through eons of experience. Her contemplation was interrupted by another urgent message from Torres. Maya, we're down to emergency power. The commander has ordered immediate evacuation preparation. You need to return now. Likely survived for millennia by developing technologies that could adapt to any environment or crisis. Its knowledge could not only save the mining station, but revolutionize human civilization's approach to space exploration and colonization. The entity seemed to sense her emotional state, because its next projection was something entirely unexpected. Instead of technical diagrams, It showed what appeared to be a memory or historical record. Maya watched as the holographic display revealed the story of a civilization not unlike humanity, one that had faced similar challenges in its expansion. Beyond its home world, the images showed beings with 4 arms and elongated heads, their bodies adapted for low-gravity environments. Maya watched their history unfold, the development of interstellar travel, the establishment of colonies on distant worlds, the gradual discovery that their expansion was unsustainable without new approaches to resource management and environmental adaptation. The entity's people had faced a choice similar to the one confronting humanity. They could continue their aggressive expansion, depleting resources and leaving failing colonies in their wake. Or they could develop new technologies that worked in harmony with their environment rather than simply exploiting it. They had chosen harmony, developing the crystalline resonance systems and biological integration methods that the entity had been showing Maya, but the transition hadn't been easy. The historical display showed conflicts between those who embraced the new approaches and those who preferred traditional methods. Wars had been fought over the direction of their civilization, ultimately resulting in the near extinction Maya was witnessing. The entity itself was apparently one of the last survivors, its consciousness preserved within the crystalline matrix that formed its current existence. Maya felt a profound connection to this ancient being. Like her, it had been different from its peers, able to perceive solutions that others couldn't see. Like humanity, its civilization had stood at a crossroads between sustainable progress and destructive expansion. The entity was offering not just technical knowledge, but wisdom earned through eons of experience. Her contemplation was interrupted by another urgent message from Torres. Maya, we're down to emergency power. The commander has ordered immediate evacuation preparation. You need to return now. Maya knew she was running out of time, but she also knew that leaving now would mean abandoning humanity's greatest opportunity for advancement. She made a decision that would have seemed insane to anyone else. She began removing her suits, gloves, preparing to make direct physical contact with the alien entity. The risk was enormous. Her suit's environmental protection was the only thing keeping her alive in the asteroid's hostile environment. But Maya had observed that the entity's strongest responses came when she made direct contact with its surface. If she was going to establish the kind of deep communication needed to transfer complex technical knowledge, she would need to take that risk. Maya pressed her bare hand against the alien surface and immediately felt sensations unlike anything she had ever experienced. The entity's consciousness touched hers directly, sharing not just information but actual understanding. Maya felt herself becoming temporarily integrated with an intelligence that had survived for geological ages, accumulating knowledge and wisdom beyond human comprehension. The transfer was overwhelming but organized. The entity had prepared for this moment, compiling the essential information that Maya would need to save her people. Technical specifications flowed into her mind with perfect clarity, power grid modifications that would increase efficiency by 300%, life support enhancements that could operate indefinitely using local resources, structural reinforcement techniques that would allow human colonies to survive in environments previously considered uninhabitable. But more than just technical knowledge, Maya received understanding. She grasped the fundamental principles behind the entity's technology. The idea that all matter contained latent energy that could be accessed through resonance patterns, that biological and mechanical systems could be integrated seamlessly, that consciousness itself could be used as a tool for manipulating physical reality. The connection lasted only seconds in real time, but Maya experienced it as hours of intense learning. When it ended, she found herself lying on the asteroid floor, her hands still pressed against the now dormant alien surface. Her suit's emergency systems were flooding her helmet with warnings about environmental exposure, but she was alive and filled with knowledge that could transform human civilization. Maya quickly sealed her gloves and activated her suit's propulsion systems. She had what she needed, but getting back to the station and implementing the solutions would require convincing people who had already dismissed her theories. As she navigated back through the mining tunnels, she organized the alien knowledge in her mind, preparing to present it in ways that her colleagues could understand and accept. The station was in chaos when Maya returned. Emergency lighting cast everything in an eerie red glow, and crew members moved with the desperate efficiency of people preparing for the worst. Commander Roberts was in the process of activating the evacuation pods when Maya burst into the command center. "I have the solutions," she announced, connecting her tablet to the main display system. The alien entity provided complete technical specifications for repairing our systems. Dr. Harrison looked up from his console with exhausted skepticism. "Chen, we don't have time for your theories. We're abandoning ship in 6 hours." Maya ignored his dismissal and began uploading the technical data she had received. The display screens filled with detailed schematics and modification procedures that were clearly beyond human technology but perfectly adapted to their current systems. The alien intelligence had designed solutions specifically for EPS configuration and available resources. Commander Roberts stopped his evacuation preparations and studied the displays. His engineering background allowed him to recognize the sophistication of the designs, even if he couldn't understand their underlying principles. "Where did these specifications come from, Chen?" "Direct transfer from the alien consciousness," Maya replied, knowing how incredible it sounded. "It has been observing our technology and developing solutions to our problems. These modifications can be implemented using materials and equipment we already have." Dr. Harrison joined them at the display, his skepticism warring with desperate hope. "Even if these designs are viable, we don't have the time or resources to implement major system modifications." Maya had anticipated this objection. The entity prioritized the solutions based on our timeline and resources. "These first 3 modifications can be completed in 4 hours using existing maintenance protocols. They will stabilize our power, grid, and life support systems long enough to implement the more comprehensive upgrades." Lieutenant Torres arrived in the command center, having tracked Maya's return. She studied the technical displays with growing amazement. "These power efficiency improvements are beyond anything in our current engineering database. If they work, we could not only survive, but establish a permanent research facility here." Commander Roberts made the decision that would define the rest of his career. "We'll implement the priority modifications. If Chen is right, we live. If she's wrong, we've lost nothing we weren't going to lose anyway." "Dr. Harrison, coordinate with Chen on the technical implementation. Torres, organize. Work teams according to these specifications."